up in the school sports focus this week, we bring you stories about lawn tennis. We tell you what happened on the courts during the 2023 Term 2 secondary school games. Is it true that tennis is a game of class? Tennis has been accused of being a marker of prestige than a sport. In this episode, we discuss the myths and facts about this allegation. And we will tell you how schools are breaking the tennis is for the rich stereotype. You will also hear from a coach who has volunteered to spread the exclusive game to underprivileged learners. You will have expert advice from a professor of sports science on how private facilities can be used to make the otherwise exclusive sport more inclusive. This episode has a special message from the Director and Chief Executive Officer, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. As usual, we have views from players, fans and teachers who make the inter-school competitions possible.
This is the EDU Channel School Sports Focus, a show that brings stories about future stars. School Sports Focus starts right now.
We start by answering the question, is tennis an elite sport reserved for the high class? While it's true that some sports are for ordinary people, others are an excuse to show off. Myth has it that golf is not a common person sport since it requires membership to elite clubs, not to mention the firmly enforced attire and etiquette on the match day. Unlike soccer fields that are found in every corner of our nation, public golf facilities are rare. According to popular belief, other expensive sports reserved for the wealthy include falconry, polo, horse racing, skiing, and yachting. It's a commonly held belief that playing these expensive sports is a polite way of displaying wealth rather than competing or engaging in physical fitness. The sports are a status marker. However, research by WealthX, a leading American market research firm, found out that soccer is the second most popular sport for the high class, with 49.9% of billionaires naming it as an interest, passion, or hobby. Therefore, the relationship between social class and involvement in sports remains a paradox. While some billionaires are choosy, others are not. There is no evidence that talents choose social class. If talents was class-based, then Serena Williams, the queen of tennis, would not be who she is today because her father was born in a family of sharecroppers. It can therefore be argued that some sports are considered high class, not because of the talent requirements of the sport or because the sport is expensive, but for the reason that the majority of its spectators are well off.
That's a myth. A myth that some sports are preserved for people with different classes. But the reality is that everybody, if they get the opportunity, they can participate. And now we have various sports that previously they were thought to be for elite. Now they're being played by anybody. For example, I'll give you an example of rugby. A few years ago, it was a preserve of Alliance, Nairobi, Lenana. Now the people who are winning are local teams called Koyonzo in Kakamega. So it's not preserve. It is just an opportunity to be given to the youngsters and they will make it to the top.
It's for these reasons that talented players convened at the Kakamega Club for the 2023 Secondary Schools Tennis Championship. Yet, going by the number of participants and fans, it is evident that the game of tennis is less popular than mass sports such as soccer and volleyball. Although schools in the host county lack standard tennis courts, the Kakamega Sports Club brought the sport of lawn tennis near the people. The sports club is a private members club located in Kakamega town. As explained by Professor Prof.Bukhala, A former vice chair of the sports club, it is through such partnerships with private institutions that schools can boost inclusivity in sports, which are considered elite.
Private clubs need to come up to supplement what is happening by the public sector. And this is because many private enterprises, for example, sports venues, the good sports venues are actually managed by private clubs. And then when we see the public ones are not very well maintained. So if there is any partnership that supports that interaction between public and private, then we should be able to see enhanced performance. We have such collaborations already. It's not that it is the first time. Many sports clubs, private clubs, are opening up their doors for young people to participate. For example, swimming. Most of the swimming pools are owned by private enterprises, but they still open up for public to use. A good example is at Kakamega Sports Club, where they have opened up their tennis courts for public to use. And many young people in the community in Kakamega are now accessing this facility.
Since school sports in Kenya is about talent rather than social class, the Professor of Health Promotion and Sports Science at the Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology argues that the expenses related to elite sports can be reduced if schools came together to use private and community sports facilities.
Ministry of Sports, Ministry of Education need to partner with the communities and invest in improving those facilities in the communities where communities can use together. We don't have the enough resources to have a facility like tennis court being built in every school. But every community can have a tennis court where all the schools around can come together and use on a timetable.
The Kakamega Sports Club allowed learners to compete on the tennis courts after the tournament organizers paid a small user fee. Such favors are part of the club's corporate social responsibility, according to the Professor of Health Promotion and Sports Science. The inclusive and adapted physical activities specialist, for schools to make elite sports affordable, it is cheaper for the learning institutions to partner with private clubs than to build their own facilities.
Ministry of Education need to partner with these communities and do MOUs. MOUs, for example, do an MOU with the Kakamega Sports Club, so that every time you have activities that involve students, then that MOU helps to ground the relationship. And in this MOU, the club can provide the facility, but the ministry can help to improve the facility so that it's to the standard that young people can use effectively.
However, Professor Bukhala advises schools to sign facilities use MOUs with private institutions to formalize the resource sharing. The facilities use agreement should include booking protocols to ensure the scheduled access reflects the school's timetable and to optimize the utilization of the resources by allowing different schools and different club members to use the facility at different times. The booking protocol can also avoid conflicts during peak use periods, like during inter-school competitions or national leagues, when the demand for the facilities escalate. For instance, Professor Bukhala acknowledges that while the 3 lawn tennis courts in Kakamega Sports Club are free for most of the time, the golf course is always busy throughout the year. It means, without an MOU and clear property scheduling plan, sharing the golf course is likely to lead to conflicts between the schools and the club members.
Apart from using the private clubs, I think the Ministry of Sports, Ministry of Education need to partner with the communities and invest in improving those facilities in the communities where communities can use together. We don't have the enough resources to have a facility like tennis court being built in every school. But every community can have a tennis court where all the schools around can come together and use on a timetable. This is always done in other places. I've seen it abroad. Let us find a way of utilizing existing facilities in our communities so that the communities can use those few facilities both during school days, during holidays. For example, now we are going to close schools, secondary schools in November. Now you have 3 months, almost 3 months, children staying away. And the facilities are there. For example, how would the children in Kakamega town learn how to play tennis? If they have an interest, they can come to the club and use it.
When we come back, we give you reasons why your school's maram or grass court may be as good, if not better, than the much-hyped acrylic surface courts. Keep watching. EDU Channel, the national educator. The club was the venue of the 2023 School Tennis Championships. The 2023 school tournament was played on the Kakamega Club's clay court. The surface of such court is made of maram, gravel, a mixture of bricks and sand, or any similar clay materials. Being of a clay surface does not mean the Kakamega maram courts were of poor quality. Clay courts are not synonymous with mud courts. Clay is one of the 3 standard surfaces recommended by the International Olympic Committee. The other types of courts are grass courts and hard courts. In any case, the prestigious French Open is played on clay courts. The top French tennis tournament is one of the 4 Grand Slam competitions. The others are US Open and Australian Open. The 2 are played on acrylic-topped hard courts. Due to the difference in hardness, each of the 3 playing surfaces comes with its own advantages and disadvantages to players. For instance, the ball is faster on grass courts than hard courts and slower on clay courts. To lessen the influence on the surface on results, the International Tennis Federation recommends tennis balls with speed appropriate for the playing surface. There is ball type 1, the fast speed ball recommended for play on slow-paced surfaces. Type 2, the medium speed ball, is for competition on medium to fast-paced courts. And Type 3, the slow speed ball, is suitable for matches on fast-paced courts. However, the International Tennis Federation has allowed each national association to decide the type of tennis ball used for local competitions. It is clear the choice of surface and ball type affected some players.
The challenges I faced were like returning the balls that you find the opponent has sliced, which is something very difficult if you are used to playing a top spin game. So with this, I found myself losing a lot of points.
Because the tennis ball bounces are slower on clay than grass courts, players with a good topspin are a potent weapon on clay. Power and placement alone cannot win on clay courts. If you're good in defending the baseline, if you play like Rafael Nadal, Chris Evert or Justine Henin, then you're likely to win more on clay courts. That is why Nadal is the king of clay. Jacob Karanja might not have performed well because of the surface. He was not Kenya's king of clay during the 2023 inter-school contest.
I used to play tennis a long time ago, a bit better. My performance was a bit quite high than what I'm playing right now, because I've not had consistent training every time. You are in school, you don't have courts, and it's expensive to construct one in our school, and I can say we lack space even. It's a small school.
Records from the International Olympic Committee indicates top speed Roger Federer, Pete Sampras and Serena Williams have excelled more on grass courts. Since balls bounce higher on hard courts, all-round players like Novak Djokovic, tend to do well on hard courts given the players' balanced nature. How the playing surface affected the results is a story for another day. But I guess the coaches had prepared the players well for the clay courts. Do not waste your game's time whining if your school has clay or grass courts. The two might be as good, if not better than the much-hyped acrylic courts. If you don't have any, improvise a tennis court and play the beautiful game. Remember, mchagua jembe si mkulima. When we come back, we hear the story of Coach Veronica Osogo, a former tennis player breaking the stereotypes of social class. The coach took a tough decision to support tennis among young, underprivileged children.
I decided to be a tennis coach once I started a foundation called Zion Zone Tennis Foundation. And my desire was to nurture raw talent, young talent, especially from the underprivileged community. So since then, I've been coaching children in the communities, especially in the slum. And some of these children transition to, I get them in primary schools, then I coach them until secondary school. So my desire was to give children or a child from a privileged community a chance. So that is where I am to this day, serving my community.
Through her foundations, Coach Veronica brought several players to the 2023 Term 2 Nationals in Kakamega.
We have 12 players from Nairobi, six girls and 6 boys. They are taking part and they're the ones who qualified in the event that we had in Nairobi. Those are the young boys and girls that I started training since grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, thereabout, and now they're in high school. And they train every day. Some every day, some selected days at public service clubs. So for me, I trust because I've seen them as young children, I'm seeing them as teenagers, they're transitioning as adults. So for me, the players that I have, I trust that they will do well.
She believes the national competition is not the apex and hopes the players will achieve even more through the game of tennis.
Most of them have been playing for Kenya team. That was one of my goals, for them to play for Kenya team, for them to be highly ranked in the country. And honestly, my desire is one day for them to go to the US. It's one of the things that I've not managed to break through, getting a scholarship in the US because of academics. So I'm hoping that they can improve on the academics so they're able to get a scholarship in the US. But playing for Kenya team, they have. Being number 1 in the country, they have. I've just not broken through the scholarship radar.
To increase popularity of the sport, Coach Veronica requested teachers and parents to help grow the game.
For me, I will honestly urge the teachers, I'll urge the parents, allow children to nurture their talent. Everything cannot be about books. Give them that opportunity. Give them that extra arrow for them to shoot. If one arrow breaks, what happens? If it breaks, what happens? Give every person a chance to nurture their talent besides education.
Many of the gifted players at the Nationals did not come from schools for the super wealthy. The tennis competition was about talent and hard work. It wasn't as easy as ABC for James Munyu. Rather, it was diligence, dedication, and discipline that enabled aspiring top speed to reach the Nationals.
I studied at Shadrach Kimalel Secondary School and I played tennis. I started playing tennis 2014, that is in Standard 1. I have been playing tournaments and since then I have been receiving medals of becoming a champion both in singles and doubles. Primary, I played well and sometimes I could reach finals, that is local tennis, here local Kenya. And last year I played while I was in secondary school and I reached Tanzania, East Africa during this inter-schools and we were awarded number 2. Sometimes I cannot get enough time to train, but at least I get 2 hours a day after school. After I have already studied, I get only 2 hours a day.
For some learners, it's commitment, dedication, and self-discipline that propelled to the Nationals.
I'm Mohammed Ismail, a student of Garissa High School, Afonto. For real, I enjoy playing it, and it's a nice game, so it can be a career. And being a good game, still it's enjoyable. I was in Nairobi somewhere called Nairobi Club, so I saw many people playing, so I enjoyed watching it, so I tried it, then I made it. The only problem is just like when we are receiving the serves are very hard, but we are trying it a little bit.
For David, success in tennis is not a class issue. It's about enjoying the game.
For lawn tennis, like first for you to play lawn tennis, you have to enjoy. You have to explore, enjoy. Then the second thing you have to do, you have to find the ambition for you and set your targets. So you have to have something that is driving you. Like now you're playing tennis. What do I want? You have to have something that keeps you going, and that's what will make you love tennis.
The challenge with tennis is not the expenses, but training. Success in tennis depends on hard work.
I started tennis when I was at class 3. My brothers were the ones who introduced me in tennis. Coach Veronica has been my coach, mwenye alinianzilisha tennis. And from there, nimekuja kucheza tennis nikiwa high school. Reach Sai National, aiming to go to East Africa, which itakuwa held at Rwanda. Challenges zangu zimekuwa that lately sijakuwa nikitrain. So kuingia kwa court imekuwa somehow naipata hard to win some very easy matches, which I make small mistakes, ndo zinanikost sana.
Tennis is not about showing off, but utilizing one's talent. James Monyo advises other students to exploit their talents.
Talent, it is not only concerned only by books, but it is your skill, the thing that you know. You can try your talent today. You don't know who you can be, but if you try, like playing tennis, being an athlete, doing handball, being a swimmer, you don't know you don't know your talent, but just try anything, because God gave you a talent and you know yourself. Don't just sit there as a youth.
When we come back, we bring you the views of the Director and Chief Executive Officer, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. EDU Channel, the national educator.
Every child deserves a chance to realize their talent and reach their full potential.
EDU Channel, the national educator. According to Professor Charles Omondo, the Director and CEO of KICD, every learner should be given a chance.
The Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, KICD, is putting emphasis on nurturing every learner's potential. And sports is one of the areas where learners demonstrate a lot of potential, but which previously went untapped. It is a pleasure to see young boys and girls excel in different games and demonstrate potentials. Our role is to nurture these potentials as they go to junior school, so that by the time they get to senior school, then some of them will be able to choose the arts and sports pathway, and then possibly nurture that potential further to be able to join the world of work in the area of sports.
The CBC has pathways aimed at nurturing learners' potential. Learners can develop their talents into careers. As Roger Federer, the tennis legend, said, there is no shortcut to success. You have to work hard, day in and day out. Let us learn some of the tennis vocabulary used in this episode. Top speed is the highest ranking player in a tournament. The Grand Slam tournaments, also referred to as majors, are the world's 4 most important annual professional tennis tournaments. They are the Australian Open, played in January, the French Open, played in late May to early June, the Wimbledon, played in late June to early July, and the US Open that is played in late August to early September. Yearly, the best player in the 4 tournaments is declared the Grand Slam winner. Novak Djokovic is considered the greatest tennis player of all time, currently ranked world number 1. The top speed has won an all-time record of 24 Grand Slams. Djokovic is the only man in history to hold all 4 major titles at once across 3 different surfaces. He is Surface Slam as he mastered grass, clay and hard courts in the same calendar year.
If you missed any part of the show or you want to watch it again, visit our YouTube channel, EDU Channel. And if you have a story about school sports you think we should feature, send us information through edutchannel@kicd.ac.ke. You can also communicate with us through our Facebook page at EduTV Kenya 3964. Send us your self-recorded clips with your name and telephone number. We want to hear your opinion and put our focus on the sports you like.
EDU Channel, the national educator.